No, 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 no!
Hey everybody, I was down here last night and I put together my new dolly. Oh, I have a confession to make. I'm a chocoholic. Anyways, I ended up going with through bolts. So instead of lag bolting these brackets onto the board, I went right through with washers. And I needed to find some bolts just the right size, and that was kind of a pain. I'll show you why in a second. So I tipped it up here to show you. I got a couple of bolts that, by not putting washers on this side and letting them actually crush into the wood, they were just long enough to bolt this on. So those work out pretty well. But I didn't have 8 bolts that size. So here I had to use 2 longer bolts, and you see the problem is that the threads stick up. And that might cause them to get in the way of the legs. So what I did was I made sure that the 4 short ones I had, that I put 2 on this side and 2 over here. So that gives me basically from here over on the board is where I can get my legs to seat. And probably because this board's longer than the width of the legs, I'm hoping I'm going to actually be able to get the legs right in here. So the only way to find that out is to go over and try it. And then I actually ran, searched high and low, but could not find one more bolt in my my bevy of bolts. So what I'm going to do is, I think I left a bunch of bolts over there, some long ones. I might have one that'll fit there. I'll probably just grab a couple of these washers and have them in my pocket. And so let's head over there. While we wait for the Grizzly to warm up, talk about the plan for attaching the legs to here. Stopped at the hardware store and got a couple of good sized lag bolts. These are 2.5 by ½ inch. And I was going by memory, but I'm almost positive that the holes in those legs are big enough to accommodate these bolts. And then I went with 2.5 because I knew the board's 2 inches thick, but then I've got that thickness of the leg casting. So this should work out well, I hope. One other thing I did was I raided my wood pile where I've got some 8x8 blocking, and that's going to help me stacking up that that wood, because I'm going to have to get this quite a bit higher than I was lifting it before to get these taller casters, and this whole dolly assembly is bigger than the other one. So the less small pieces I have to stack, the less of a more stable a base I should end up with. Of course, the problem with doing a job like this, and it's not actually near your tools, is you never remember everything. But I'm bringing the wagon over today, bring my stuff over there, and that way, if I have to make a quick run back to the shop area, or the shop. Alright, so I think I'll start by getting all of this cribbing, this small cribbing out of there, and get my bigger blocks in there, get a more stable base. Yeah, I definitely like the way this is working out with those 8x8s under there. I was able to make a wider, more stable base. You can see it's still listing a little bit to the side, but it's a lot less wobbly than the other setup I had in there. So I've got that under there now, but I knew I forgot something. I got to get the correct size drill bit and my cordless drill. Oh, I did find a bolt over here. It's actually a carriage bolt, but it works out pretty good because the square part of the bolt actually gets held captive by the flange here that is part of the caster. So that stud's sticking up a little high, but hopefully it won't be in the way. Alright, so I've moved this into position as best I can so that it's centered. That the caster is centered underneath the leg there, but it's offset, and the reason why it's offset is because that bolt's in the way, my long bolt there. But that's okay because I'll be alright. I'll be right over this one on this side, but I'm going to have to shift this over, but the blocking's in the way. So the plan is get that side bolted, then tap this over, and then Well, you'll see. So anyways, I just stick the lag bolt in there loose. It's got a nice fine point on it. Give it a whack. That'll make a nice dimple. Now I can pull it out and drill it. Now I found this metal pin that fits in the drilled hole perfectly. So I'm going to use that to locate, keep that in location while I mark the other end. Alright, so here's where things get a little bit tricky. You can see right now this is not lining up where I want it to line up. I want this to be over that way. I want this dolly to be over that way just a little bit more. Can't go over too much more, only about 3/4 of an inch. Problem is I'm hitting the blocking right here. Now if I just try and knock the blocking, I run the risk of popping this bottle jack out and having the whole thing just fall rapidly. And breaking the dolly or flopping off the dolly or whatever. So I can't do it that way. So what I've got to do is I've got to actually release the, I got to lower this to move this stuff over. But when I lower it, it's going to want to come down on the dolly, which is not ready. So I've got to find out another way to do this. Let's see, I could take this all out, block this all up. I think I'm going to have to do that. Alright, I've now moved the blocking outward, which forces me to have the bottle jack further out and support a little further out than I'd like, because now I'm pushing. The problem is, the further over this way I have that block, the more force I'm exerting on the end of this chip pan right here. And I'd be worried about breaking that. I don't know how strong that is, but I'm sure, as strong as it is, I'm sure they didn't intend for you to try and lift the machine by it. Okay, same drill as before, if you'll pardon the pun, but basically held it up into position. I've got it indexed with that pin over there, held this up into position, put the lag bolt in, gave it a tap with the hammer. That gave me a point, so when I took it out I could drill a hole. So now that hole should be hopefully lined up perfectly. So I'm going to start by lag bolting on probably that end a little bit, and then I'll get this one on a little bit and tighten it up. Alright, I've got it all bolted up. So now I'm going to release that bottle jack, lower the weight of this thing down on our new dolly, and see if it holds. Ooh. What's it doing? It's rolling. Where's it rolling to? Back towards the jack. Looking good. Weight's off of it. Alright. So there we have it. It is now sitting on the casters, and this wheel is firmly on the ground, so it actually righted itself too, which is another good thing. It's listing a little bit, tilted just a little bit, but nowhere near as bad as it was. So now we want to see if we can steer this end of it back that way. Alright, this contraption has been here for a while. It's something that the former owner had made, and it's an old, if you recognize it, but it's basically, he took a boat winch, trailer winch for a boat, 1,200 pound capacity. He's got a old ratchet that he modified and welded this piece that he probably made on one of the lathes here onto it. So he's got a handle, and what that lets you do is you put this bracket on with a hook, and it doesn't have a lot of pulling power, and you're limited by the strength of the nylon rope. But what I'm using it for is I'm mainly just using it to help me anchor, so that if I can get the thing to roll this way, it won't want to roll back on me. And I got that only anchored in. This is a hook that's banged into the dimensional lumber here in this door jamb, so don't know if that's going to pull out either. So that's why I'm not using this to try and winch this thing along, because something's liable to give and snap and hit me. So, but I do want to have something on there, and then I'm going to see if I can get my bar behind there and edge this out. Well, Boy, that's amazing how hard it is to move this thing, even though I now have it on casters. You know, I actually had the foolish thought that this thing was going to roll fairly easily once I had it on wheels, and it doesn't. But I did get it by actually trying to push the other side out. This side actually came out. So then I took up my tension again on my little line there to arrest the... What the heck is that? I think this floor is what's killing me again. There's a big hole now that that left caster's in. If I try and pull this or push it, I'm liable to put excessive force on that one single caster and have it want to try and rip out or cave in. So I think what I want to do is, I think at this point I want to set up my cribbing again, jack it again, and get a piece of plywood underneath here. But this time I think I'm going to jack from the inside, the thought being that I want my plywood sitting right here. So if the cribbing's on the ground here, it's going to be in the way. Okay, that was just a whoa, whoa, whoa moment.
No, 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 no!
What happened was I jacked it up, and I was going to go get a piece of plywood to go into there, and as I started to move away, the whole machine started to move. And what happened was the cribbing tipped over, and what happened was those feet rolled forward because these were now lifted out of that hole that they were in, which you can see the indent right there. So now they're out of that hole, but I see another one right in front of it. See, I guess I gotta get this jack out. It does make me wonder how far it would have rolled if I didn't have my rope on there.